Hi, everybody. My name is Shelby Wildgust, and I am coming to you today to briefly walk you through just a couple of quick highlights from last year's Branch Impact program. In 2018, it was the very first year that we rolled out the Branch Impact program, and we are moving forward with full force ahead for 2019, and we're incredibly excited about what we are creating and what we will bring to you in your regions, in your divisions, in your districts, all that good stuff. Before I dive into what I've prepared in terms of the summary and the highlights of last year, I do want to quickly just introduce myself for those of you who don't know me and don't know what my role here is with the Vector East. So, like I said before, my name is Shelby Wildgust, and I got my start with Vector back in 2012 out of the Bucks County pilot office with John Wasserman as my DVM, and David Kirkner was my pilot manager. My first summer with Vector, I had an absolutely incredible time. I sold $67,000, was third in the nation for the scholarship, and I was hooked right from the beginning. I absolutely loved all that Vector had to offer. I made some of the closest friends that I ever knew was even possible, and I knew from pretty much the last day of the summer that I wanted to go branch that following year. So in 2013, I went branch for my first time. I moved out to Long Island, New York. I moved out of my parents' house. I lived with another branch manager, and I ran the Valley Stream office on Long Island. That summer, we did about $84,000 of sales. It wasn't a great summer. It wasn't a bad summer. It was just pretty decent, and it was a great experience all in all. Looking back at that summer, I definitely knew where I had messed up, and I knew where my weaknesses were. So it was an easy decision to go branch a second time because I knew that I could do so much better if I just focused a little bit more on my training, my preparation, and got a bigger head start from the beginning. So in 2014, I went senior branch in North Delaware. I'm a student at University of Delaware at that point. So it was nice for me because I got to stay on my college campus, recruit from my dorm, and then run the office during the summertime. That summer, my office did $154,000 of sales. So we nearly doubled the sales amount from the year prior. But at the end of that summer, I decided to step away from Vector and go see where my resume could get me. I was in the outside of Vector world for about 3 years. I did an internship, which I hated, and then I was in corporate America, and I did not like that either. There's just no place like this place. And so back in 2017, I contacted Earl Kelly, asking if there was any openings in the region office. I wasn't quite ready to go back into sales yet, but I did want to come back to Vector and contribute in some way, shape, or form. I didn't know this at the time, but Earl had actually passed my name along to John Kane and Al D, and they brought me in for an interview back in August of 2017. And after a series of conversations, by October 1st of 2017, I was officially an employee of the Vector East headquarters. And many of you might remember back at SLC 2017 in Washington, D.C., Dan Cassetta asked the audience some questions, and I stood up and said, "This is my first day on the job, and I'm so excited to be back." So that's my story. And the biggest part of my story that's probably important that all of you know is that when I was hired, John Kane asked me, "Hey, what do you want to work on now that you're part of our team?" And I said two things. I said, women in leadership, and I said the branch manager program. I'm very passionate about both of those areas, and we decided for the sake of time, the sake of influence, I would focus on the branch manager program first, and then slowly work my way into working with the women in leadership component of my passion. So that was really where it all started. And the Branch Impact program is something that I created after a series of interviews with last year's top 30 branch managers. So I want to walk you through pretty briefly what some of the highlights are of this program. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. And I'm going to walk you through a quick little presentation that I created. So let's see here. All right. So highlights of the 2018 Branch Impact program. So originally, when I first created this program, I knew that my first question I need to ask myself is, what would a world-class branch program look like? And it wasn't like I was trying to fix something that was broken. I was just trying to amplify something that already works so well, and I think is one of the most unique opportunities that our company offers. And it's something that I think when a young person goes through, they come out on the other end, regardless of their CPO, they come out as a completely different person. So my first question I started out with was, what would a world-class branch program look like? And my 4 areas of growth, I believe, were in the community aspect, the accountability aspect, the best practices aspect, and the success aspect. You can see here on this PowerPoint that I asked myself questions within each of those components, and really what I ended up focusing the majority of my time on, and by the way, guys and girls and ladies and men, this is an obviously ongoing process and an ongoing project. So the first place I really focused on was a Facebook group, because that was the easiest way to create an immediate community. And then the second thing was the field training video series, which was really a brainchild of mine from my conversations with the top 30 branches from 2017. After asking, I probably interviewed 24 out of the 30, and after asking them all the same questions, I noticed that so many of the branch managers from last year had these unique skill sets and these unique perspectives that should be highlighted, and that could really gain or really add a lot of value to the up-and-coming branch managers. So what I chose to focus primarily on was the Facebook group and the field training video series. So the Branch Impact Facebook group was started in December of 2017, with people being added throughout January and February as they handed in their letters of commitment. This group was only for branch managers, and once they handed in their letter, they were granted access into this group. Their DVMs were part of it, as well as was our leadership team like Trent Booth, John Kane, Aldi Leonardo, and then some of the SPMs and the SPM staff from from the Midwest and Northeast region. So the original goal of this page was to create a space for branches across divisional and regional lines where they could come together and feel like they're part of a cohesive community. The reason why I really focus on the idea of community was because we have a community within our division and we have a community within our region, but when we're out as a branch manager, if we're living far away from home, or if we're in a territory that's an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours away from the closest office, the community can feel kind of far off. And so by having everyone come together on a Facebook community, even though it's not physical, it's still a little bit of an upgrade from what I experienced when I was a branch manager. So within the community, the goal was to give branches a platform in which they could ask for advice, share hot news, learn from top branches, read inspiring stories from the field, feel supported by their leadership, and ultimately hold one another accountable. So I want to show you some of the amazing parts of this group in what I just described, because I really had this goal of creating a living, breathing community where I didn't have to be the one constantly prompting people with questions, that people just came into this group out of the sole purpose that they wanted to learn, or they wanted to share, or they wanted to help. And what was great was that there were often times when people like Corbin Dix or Deborah Malikoff or Kayla Harris or Michaela Farrell or Brittany Dixon, I mean, there's so many other people, I just couldn't fit them all on this page, came in here and asked for advice and asked for tips. And you can see that people from all over the place didn't mind helping them out. Corbin Dix is from the Northeast region, and Nathan Alvarado is from the Midwest region. Same with this. Deborah Malikoff is from the Midwest region, and Alex Sadovnikov is from the Northeast region. You'll also see that there are times that, it's not highlighted on here, but there were times that someone like John Wasserman or Jeff Bry or David Kirkner would jump on here and respond with their own advice as well. So next part was the sharing hot news and what's working. And this was a part that I really loved and I felt very passionate about, specifically because it's exciting to be recognized by your peers. It's exciting to be celebrated by your peers. And so I would constantly ask people to share their hot news because it's inspiring for other people. This right here that you just see pop up was responses to a quote or to a post that I said, hey, what's some hot news on this Friday? And it was great to see all these different people from both regions comment and share some things that were working and that were happening in their office. You can see that's an example of one of those posts. This here, Sean Hamilton, just a random post that came up because he was excited about something that happened. And again, I think giving these kids a platform to share excitement, it just snowballs the excitement effect. And then having him get 5 likes or 7 likes or whatever it might be, and having him feel that support from his peers just gives him that extra edge throughout the day. Marina McIntosh, she had an incredible branch summer. She did extremely well. She was in the top 30 for the nation, and she shared with us what was working in regards to her Facebook Jumpstart and sharing and showing off her team's success. And this post in itself generated, I think, like 28 applications overnight. So clearly it was exciting for her to share that with our group, but it was also exciting for people who maybe weren't having the same kind of success as Marina was having to see that and then emulate that in their own way. Again, with Marina as well, I was doing one-on-one coaching calls with her, and I recognized that she had a very strong PDI culture. And so I asked her in our group, hey, can you please share some of your tips for PDI? And you can see right here that she had over 12 people like this, and really take it to heart and help them get better at PDI. And then also in my process of doing field visits, I was doing a lot of observations. So in regards to sharing what's working and sharing hot news, there's also times where I would just come in here and post, here's what I heard in the field. This is really great. I'm sitting in a DVM meeting right now, and Ryan Trembler said this, or Brett Wiggins said this, and just giving these people, these branches, access to quick tips and quick phrases that they could insert into their training very easily and simply. Learning from top branches. Again, I think it's really powerful when you get the chance to highlight someone who's doing really well within the group and ask them, hey, can you jump on here and do a quick video explaining why something is working? It engages the top branch and really makes them feel special for doing well, which they are. I mean, that's important, I think. But B, it gives them an opportunity to be a leader and to step into the leadership role. And I think through doing that, it naturally creates positive pressure to stay in the boat of leading the pack. So we have Nathan Alvarado here, the #1 branch manager in the Midwest, making a video on how to drive a 10K week. We have Nick Henkel here, #2 branch manager in the Midwest. I forget what he was talking about here, and it's an unfortunate snapshot that I got of his face, but he really stepped up as a leader in our group in itself. Everett Burns, he was the #3 branch manager in the Northeast, sharing some quick tips on what's been working for him. And then Jody Schultz, who was a 3-time branch manager, had a breakout summer this year from the Midwest, sharing about her momentum with PRs. And again, just highlighting these young kids who are out there doing the grind alongside of everybody else in the group and taking the time to give advice and to give insight and to show their face is really powerful. Reading inspiring stories from the field. This was probably one of my favorite parts about the program because it allowed people to come in here, and again, when you're challenged to bring up a story that's inspiring and motivating, it takes you away from the focus on CPO, and it brings you more into a bigger perspective of, wow, this is a really cool experience because I'm changing someone's life, or I'm giving somebody a new perspective. And it's not so much about the sales report anymore. It's more so about the people in itself. And I think that's what makes Vector so special. So having people come on here and share some things that they're excited about, regardless of whether or not they're the top branch manager for the week or whatever it might be, was just cool. And it was exciting for people to see that because, again, it made it more relatable, it gave new perspective, and it got people excited to have their own inspiring stories. So you can see this is just a small sample size of really what was happening in that group at the time. So, you can pause this and read all these if you want, but just know that they're all just really cool stories in itself. Next thing was having the support of the leaders. As I mentioned before, all the DVMs and our leadership group was on this page. And so there are often times where branches would post something, whether I was looking for advice or hot news or something that was working in their office, and it wouldn't be uncommon for Jeff Bry to comment on that, or Earl Kelly to comment on that, or David Kirkner, Greg Cothran, Jake Miser, like all these different people would comment on some of these posts, and they would just show that the leaders are watching, the leaders are celebrating, the leaders are really excited for these branches. And sometimes when you're in the weeds and it's hard to get in touch with your district manager, it's hard to get in touch with their DVM, it can feel nice to see that they actually do care and they actually are watching. Oftentimes, some of the DVMs or people like Trent Booth and John Kane would jump onto the page and go live for a quick second. And again, the live feature is a really powerful feature in this group because it gives the branch managers direct contact to their DVMs or to their leaders, and the ability to ask questions on demand, as opposed to scheduling a time to talk with Trent Booth or scheduling a time to talk with John King, which probably wouldn't happen in a summertime, especially for a branch manager. But when John and Trent and David offer up their time to come in here live, it does give that direct contact to them. Next thing that we focused on in the Branch Impact program was the Branch Impact Zoom calls. So the original goal of this component of the program was to engage branch manager candidates in meaningful conversations surrounding the prep required to be a successful manager from both a mental standpoint and a basic skill set standpoint. So if you were to go to my YouTube page and look at all the different branch Zoom calls, you'll notice that it's an equal parts mindset and skill set. What made this really unique was the fact that each call featured 2 or 3 branch managers from 2017 who shared their honest and realistic stories and had the ability to give insight that really connected with the viewers, because I think a 19-year-old first-time branch really enjoys hearing from another 19-year-old senior branch, or just to hear people who literally went through it less than 365 days ago made it really powerful, and it made it stick. It's almost like in my mind, the DVM and the DM, they're the mom and the dad or whoever, the one who's telling them what to do, and then insert a senior branch manager or insert a successful branch manager from the year before, and they're like the cool aunt, cool uncle coming in and be like, yeah, you know what your DVM said? You should actually do it, instead of just listening and saying, okay, I'll do it one day, and this is why. So it was really cool to hear from all of these different branch managers from the past. And you can see we had so many different calls here. These are all in order, and they're all featuring successful branch managers from the year before. And then we even had some additional calls that had featured our corporate team or our DVM team. You have Mallory O'Neill talking about building campus relations. John Wasserman offered up his time for 2 calls in March and April, which was they were probably our most successful calls from a feedback standpoint. We're going to do them again this year, where John would actually walk through certain PDI and PC scenarios, and people would legitimately role play with him on the call, and he'd give real feedback in real time. So that was great. And then Jeff Gamboa came on and totally rocked it, had a really awesome talk going over fast start success. And again, it was great to expose these young managers to people both in corporate, but also from different divisions, from different regions, and just show them that Vector is a lot more than just their district or their division or their region. So that was the program in a nutshell. And it was seriously just so exciting to be able to do this. And it really reinvigorated my sense of pride for Vector and my dedication to Vector as a whole. And so I'm looking forward to amplifying this for 2019. We are this close to releasing the topics for the branch Zoom calls next year, and I cannot wait to continue to work alongside the DVMs, the DMs, the RMs, and continue to make the branch experience as world-class as it can be. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and if you have any questions at all about this program, do not hesitate to reach out to me on my email. It is swildgust, that's WILDGUST@cutco.com, and I would be happy to set up a call to go over more details. If you have any additional ideas or input or feedback, do not hesitate to reach out to me. I would love to hear it, and I look forward to working with you. Thanks so much, guys.